Opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not WSTU. WSTU does not endorse any products mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU.
The Treasure Coast longest-running local talk radio show is on the air. The Treasure Coast Forum, brought to you by Law. Get interested, get educated, get involved, and give us a call with your opinions at 220-9788. And here's your host of the Treasure Coast Forum.
Welcome back to WSTU 1450, the Treasure Coast Forum. I'm your host, Cassidy Fowler, and today I'm joined here with
Sienna Aiken, Carolina Sotomayor,
and Marcus Maslone.
All right, so we got a new mix in here today. Yep.
Very good. All right, welcome one and all. And everybody's from South Fork?
Yep, they all graduated this year. So.
All Bulldogs.
Yeah, all alone here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Former now,
Yep.
Former Bulldogs.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And any of you all been in youth and government or?
I was.
Carolina,
Okay.
yep.
All right.
Mhm.
Very good. All right. Very good. Make sure you face onto the microphone. Otherwise, we can't hear you.
Yep, a fist length away.
Yes,
So
yes.
basically, recent news today, the Democratic debate was last night and the night prior. So for those two different debates, they mixed up the group between the different levels,
Yeah.
which I thought, like, obviously they've done that for a long time, but I
Right.
think that's a good idea to mix all the candidates together to get them debating against each other in a different fashion.
I think last night seemed to me to be more like a circular firing squad.
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah,
just
for sure.
back to
Right?
back to yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like, woof.
And they were just
Yeah.
a lot of different talking points. They really focused a lot on Obama and railing on him a lot. Mhm.
2 hours worth of programming, and I understand Biden had maybe about 20 minutes of actual speaking time.
Yeah, and that is, I think, the most out of just in
It could have been, but you think about it. I mean, you know, if he's the presumed
runner.
front runner,
Yep.
he certainly didn't monopolize the mic.
Oh no.
You know,
Mm-mm. But they were also beating up on him a lot because he
right.
is the front runner.
right?
And I was reading an article and realized that the debates aren't really meant for the front runners in the party. That it's more to let the smaller candidates get some voice and
Mhm.
let the public see their personal opinions and see if they view with
Correct.
him.
You're absolutely correct. But what happens is that when you get, if you remember the 2016 debates,
Mhm.
when Trump was debating, was there 17 other candidates,
Mhm.
right? He would do things. He was an outlier. They
Oh,
didn't-
he
yeah.
was. He was
Right?
not a politician
For
by any
sure.
means.
he was an
No.
outlier,
Mhm.
and he managed to monopolize
Yep.
Yes.
and to the point where he won-
Controlled
and-
the debate.
he
Yeah.
would dominate the debate.
And I would think
Yeah.
in doing so, he would convince the other candidates that they had no chance. They realized that he was out in front. He was going to win.
Right.
That they would join his side, and you saw more guys joining him and supporting him as he went along. You know, and I think in the Democratic candidacy, that killed them also in 2016, where it was the Bernie Sanders versus Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Mhm.
They were almost true enemies, and you had people split right down the middle.
Well, and they to be fair, the DNC was also in the tank for Hillary, and they deliberately did things, manipulated things to make sure Hillary got the nod.
Mhm.
You know, Bernie should be furious. I think if it was a fair, upfront selection process, I wonder if Hillary would have gotten the nod to be the representative for the Democratic Party for the 2016 election.
Mhm.
I really, it was the thumb was on the scale,
Yeah,
Mhm.
you
it
know,
went either way,
Yeah.
for sure.
and so that's kind of interesting,
Yeah.
you know.
I think that it's also important to note that I feel as though some of the candidates on the Democratic side know that they are not going to get the spot to run for presidency.
right,
And they're just doing it as a way to monopolize on the title of a running for president.
absolutely.
Yep.
So that title now follows them. So they become a pundit for CNN
Yep.
or MSNBC. they can, their name comes up.
Yeah,
and
as
they'll
like
say,
candidate for president 2020. Yep.
correct.
Mhm.
And they can become a political pundit, and then their value goes up, especially if they don't have any other activity in politics,
Mhm.
And I'm thinking about the mayor of New York, for example.
Mhm. Just
know.
something to add to the resume.
Right. And so if you raise $4 million, you only spend $2 million, and there's nothing in the books that says that you got to give the money back.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Thank you very much. It's
Yeah.
been a good day.
Yeah. Thanks for supporting me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
And make your checks payable too.
I think that's what a lot of people were surprised about
Yeah.
Trump, that he wasn't just there, advertising himself. He proved a lot of people wrong with, caring about the country first and
Right.
being a businessman. You would think that he would do those types of things where come in, dip out real quick,
Right.
take his earnings,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he's proven a lot of people wrong, I think, with that.
Yeah, he did a lean and mean campaign on the 2016 where he did his own financial support
Oh
initially.
yeah. Mhm.
Mhm.
And
And
didn't he not collect anything?
Currently,
Yeah.
he's not.
Yeah, and he's still not.
He's still not. I think he's taking an allowance of maybe the lowest you can possibly get and donating the rest to other causes.
Oh yeah, as
Mhm.
far as his presidential salary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of an interesting thing. One of the things that he's doing that I think is just sheer brilliance, and maybe they're doing it on the Democratic side, but I'm just not hearing about it. When you go to a rally, they ask you for some of your contact information, like your email address and that sort of thing, and then your friends. And so what that does is it's giving them this incredible database,
Mm-hmm.
so that talk about getting out the vote.
Right.
So they can contact you and, maybe send you a text message and
Mhm.
say, hey, this primary is coming up, or this, these are the things that are coming up that we would like you to consider,
Mm-hmm.
Checking out.
check it out. So,
Actually,
and I think that's very powerful marketing. And, because when you advertise,
Mm-hmm.
you're using print media or TV or radio,
Mhm.
some of that stuff is heard.
Mhm.
Most of it isn't,
I think what I'm noticing. I know I'm on YouTube all the time. stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that,
I'm getting those
and
YouTube ads.
I'm seeing Trump advertisements, and
See?
I'm not seeing from anybody else, and it's pretty interesting because a lot of people watch YouTube, and
Mhm.
right?
I don't know if it's just me because
No,
the
no.
things I watch and stuff like that.
Well, some of it's that.
Yeah. Look at your database and what you
Right.
search
The
up.
algorithm they try to find things that fit your political bias.
Mhm.
You know.
yeah. But I don't know. Sometimes I get stuff from
Oh yeah.
Democratic side, and
I
I
do
really
too.
have not seen a lot of that. and
Yeah.
It can
I
help
know.
a lot of people, convince a lot of people.
Right.
Yep.
We talked about Candace Owens before the before airtime,
Mhm.
and what an amazing individual she is. Now she started out in a family all voting Democrat, and seems like the black people, the black culture, which is basically, if you think about it, conservative, family, that sort of thing, traditional voting Democrat. And now they're looking, maybe not so much.
Yep.
Mhm.
And it appears as though the Democratic Party is wanting to get the Hispanic vote more. And they've they're just
They're
taking
allocating more of their energy
Yeah.
towards that
Yes,
because they see that
yes.
as the growing minority.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's why they want these people to come to the border. They get their citizenship de facto. And then, okay, they're automatically in the can for the Democratic
Yeah.
voting.
And I'll come right back to that, the
Mhm.
Hispanic population. But back to Candace Owens, she's turning into kind of a role model. Like you said, she's going to colleges, speaking at colleges. She's
Mhm.
very sharp on her, debates. She lets people talk, ask questions to her, and she comes back with powerful answers, and she's very convincing,
Right.
And I think a lot of the African American community need that, that it's not just, oh, I'll do this because I'll get free things,
Right.
It's she's working hard. People see that she's working hard for what she's doing, and she's very convincing as well. I think
Right.
she's a good example. for a
Yeah.
lot of
And
people.
Ben Shapiro, we talked about him briefly. He's, Jewish. And historically, the Jewish community also has voted Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And he's saying, maybe not so much. Don't take the Jewish vote for granted. And just like Candace Owens is saying, don't take the black vote for granted,
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of an interesting change of events. It's kind of a historical change, seed change, so to speak.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And I think like if we're talking about just groups of people and the way that they generally vote, that the younger population, such as us, we're really influenced by media, I feel like, towards the left side, that side is presented more throughout media and
Mhm.
kind of villainizing the Republican point of view in some cases.
Correct.
And that's definitely shaping the younger
The
generations.
narrative.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Because the narrative last week, for example, was that Trump was a racist. They, even though if you really read his statement about Baltimore, he said the same thing that the senator that represents that district was a congressman, I believe, that represents that district,
Mhm.
said a couple of years ago. Right, same thing, pretty much about the rats, and it's really
The circumstances, yeah.
it's it's just a bad situation there, and yet he didn't verbalize anything any different than what the representative did, but because Trump said it, he's a racist.
Yep.
Mhm.
How does that work?
No, it's crazy to think
Yeah.
about. They support one thing.
But they put that, but the press put that in the
Yeah,
in the byline. So Trump said Trump's racist statement was.
Yeah, no,
they automatically declared it as
they
such,
blare it
de
out
facto,
there, just
yeah.
and it gets you people to read it, and they
Right.
just
Clickbait.
yeah, it's clickbait, and it's what everything just turned into. But
Yeah, I even saw this thing recently on Instagram of a photo of a Guatemalan mother and her child being held at gunpoint by so-called like border control United States soldiers.
Mhm.
And it was actually the photo was kind of it was taken in a way that it appeared as if they were American soldiers pointing guns at the Guatemalan woman and
Okay.
her son.
Mhm, mhm.
But in actuality, it was just a Mexican man, like a Mexican soldier. I don't know exactly what the situation was, but
Right.
like in the original, in the picture that was posted on Instagram
Mhm.
that was deceitful, it said that this woman had walked 1,500 miles to go to the border and she was declined and begged and she was crying. But in actuality, she had a brand new pair of shoes. She had brand new clothes. She had washed hair. She had cleaned hair. And that's just not true of the circumstances.
So you're saying that the man holding on the picture was
he was he was a Mexican.
He's a federale troop.
okay?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
so now to that point of people coming here.
But I don't
You're
mean to
good. Go
interrupt
ahead,
you,
you're
but
good.
but the image was portrayed that he was an American soldier.
Yep. And just trying to villainize the American soldiers.
Right.
And that's what that picture was doing. And originally, I even interpreted it as that until I did further research and found the actual facts of the photo.
Right.
And that's what people do. They just look at the surface of things
Yep.
and they make up their mind right
Yep.
away without, and it's great that you can do that. And a lot of people don't. They just either don't want to, don't have the time. And it's a shame that people just clickbait everything.
Yeah, and that just media is influencing our opinions this
Right.
easily, that
You're
we are
saying-
just looking at the surface level
Right.
when there's in fact multiple different sides to the story that you're not actually seeing.
Yeah.
I actually just watched a documentary on Netflix. Can I say the name of it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. It's called The Great Hack, and it was just it's like old news, but it was about how Cambridge Analytica was like a key part of Brexit and the Trump campaign, and how they used like Facebook and the media to persuade different like voters who weren't necessarily far right or far left,
Mhm.
and they would like manipulate like the media and the posts to try to get them to like go one way or the other.
Right.
And how like I guess like the scandal of Facebook using the data that they accumulated from accounts
Right.
would like go towards creating voter profiles so that candidates could buy those voter profiles and use that to like
So this
like
is the
weaponize
Cambridge-
it during the campaign kind
Got
of.
it. Got it.
Yeah, it was crazy. The documentary was so crazy.
Wow. And the name of that documentary.
Documentary.
There you
go.
Again was I got it.
The Great Hack, yeah.
The Great Hack.
Yeah, and they actually got a previous director of Cambridge Analytica, Brittany Kaiser,
Mhm.
to come on, and like it was like this huge thing. She came out during the Brexit campaign, and I think I forget, but in like England, whatever they have,
Mhm.
they brought her in to it's like a fake news I guess like discussion board
Okay.
where they like dive into whether or not it's basically like the court system that we have, but like overseas. And so they
Mhm.
brought her in, and she just like testified against Cambridge Analytica, the company, and how they weaponize the data profiles that Facebook and other like media profilers would use against like,
In order to
yeah, like
further their goals and their
right,
interest.
right. Yeah.
Interesting. Speaking of Brexit, we have a brand new Prime Minister of England. Theresa
Mhm.
May is out, and what his name is, Boris Johnson, I believe.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, is the new Prime Minister, and he said that he'll be out of. He will get England out of the. He will complete the Brexit, whether it'll be with the help of the body there in England or not, the Parliament. If they come along, great, Otherwise, we're just going to pull out. We're just going to say, okay, we're done.
Mhm.
Because the whole idea about doing it systematically is to write. I guess locally we refer to like, for example, if City of Stewart wants to have an agreement with Martin County or Sewell's Point, and neighboring communities, they call them interlocal agreements.
Right.
Mhm.
So basically, so Great Britain would have different agreement with Italy, a different agreement with France. Instead of having an agreement with the EU, they would just have different agreements with Germany and that sort of thing, all the different governing countries.
Mhm.
And if that works, great. If not, he's just going to pull out altogether and
Right.
figure it out later.
Yeah.
And another change in leadership down in Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we have that going on.
Wow,
Do you know if the new governor is actually in office, or did he?
Friday? Yes, Friday is his last day,
Mhm.
and he's nominated somebody to take his place to take over on Friday.
Do you know if that person
Oh,
has
oh.
actually accepted that?
Yes, he did. Okay,
did?
his number two was a female. She said that she really wasn't interested, but she would
Mhm.
take it if the electing body didn't approve the nomination of the replacement
yep.
governor.
Mhm.
So
What happened to the former?
So he was in a texting scandal and just a couple of different scandals involving just saying kind of slander about the Puerto Rican people in a group text
Okay.
with other Puerto Rican officials.
And
Okay.
saying
And-
he was like taking the money of
Okay,
like,
so
his
money-
party
so he was-
members. and
Right,
taking
yeah,
right. The
advantage
big
of-
slam, and I guess people were up in arms about the governor.
Mhm.
The big slam was that he was misappropriating a lot of the relief money and
Mhm.
aid
Right.
that never made it to those people that
Oh,
are
okay.
still
From
in
the
need.
hurricane,
Yeah.
that
Okay, wow.
like he and his wife were holding back the aid and using it at their discretion to make themselves look better.
Okay.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
I know the Trump administration was very frustrated with the government of Puerto Rico because we had
Mhm.
sent aid down there. A lot of that aid was sitting on the dock
Right.
Yep.
Right.
and never they didn't have
Actually
any.
get put to use. Yep.
They didn't have the infrastructure. It's like, really, you didn't have an
Yeah.
infrastructure to move the stuff off the dock and bring it out to people,
Yeah.
like water and
Wow.
food and batteries and
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
why
like-
the government was hesitant in putting more funds towards
Right.
Puerto Rico, and that's what people miss. They're
Right.
like, why aren't they giving them
we
the
ended
money?
up having to send a military division over
Yep,
there,
down there to take
just so they can do
order.
the
Yep.
do the logistics of moving the stuff around. And because the government, there was no infrastructure of the local government to which you would think that, okay, we're an island in the middle of the Caribbean. We need to figure this stuff out before something bad happens so that we
Mhm.
can be ready. Like the state of Florida is ready, and all the other states that that could potentially get some bad weather,
Mhm.
right?
So that's why I believe last Wednesday the governor resigned,
Resigned.
and
He
it was
resigned, right.
a big thing
Wow.
around the protesters.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a big forceful thing because there were a lot of like really brutal protests.
Mhm.
I think that there was someone that like released fireworks at someone at one of the protests, and then the police officers there had to release tear gas to like control the protest, and it was like a huge media twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were so the media was for the protesters or against
Yeah,
the
definitely.
Yeah,
for
it was.
the-
Yeah.
yeah.
Because change needs to be brought
Yeah.
down there since
Who-
it's so
Yeah.
dysfunctional.
Mhm.
Who voted? Did the people vote?
The
The new,
people were-
They didn't even vote.
Yeah.
or was it just kind of like a?
See, that's
I think
we
it
asked
was
this
just
question
change in
last week.
power.
We
Yeah.
don't really know.
Yeah,
And
we
if
still
you
don't
know-
know exactly
Really?
what's going on down
Yeah,
there.
if you know, you give us a call at 220-9788. But one of the things that we often wonder is the governor an appointed? But apparently, it must be a local official because obviously the federal government here could appoint somebody in a New York minute,
Mhm.
if they needed to. But yeah, self government. You would think that the territory of Puerto Rico would be able to elect their own governor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I suspect that that's probably the process. But if that process doesn't work,
Or their goal might have just been to get him out of office and someone in like as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
there-
the problem is that there's so much
corruption within their
Yeah.
government down there that they
Right.
need to bring change to all.
right, and
that
that's
are
what the people
authoritative,
down
yeah.
there are worried about. Is okay, you're just changing the decks.
The name of the
Yeah.
the decks of the deck chairs on the cruise ship. You're not
Yeah,
really
yeah.
solving the problem.
Well,
Mhm.
I think that they're trying to get rid of a lot of people that were like involved with the scandal itself, because a lot of like people that were underneath
A lot of
them
the
were
officials, yeah.
already intertwined with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that the media in Puerto Rico is very open, I guess, because I know that they show dead bodies. They don't really like cover anything at all on any of their media platforms. They like show you like live footage all the way.
Mhm.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, I know there's, and of course, we talked about this, I think it was the last week, we talked about Hong Kong and some of the problems going on over there,
Oh
too,
yeah.
right?
So basically, right now in Hong Kong, the protesters are using lasers. The little, for example, like
marker lasers.
Yep.
Yeah. Mhm.
just basically to disorient and distract the police
Oh,
down
okay.
there. Yeah.
All right.
And also to hide their identities, since it's kind of not a good thing to protest in Hong Kong right now
Right.
because of just the situation going down there.
Right.
Are you guys familiar with what's going on in Hong Kong? So basically in Hong Kong, they are China who pretty
It's-
much oversees
it's-
Hong Kong.
One government, two different two systems.
Two systems,
One
yeah.
government.
So basically, China is attempting to extradite, which means to move the not law-abiding citizens, the people that break laws, that go to jail or prison, back to China
they're currently in Hong
It's-
Kong.
that are currently in Hong Kong.
It's an
yeah.
extradition bill that allows the Chinese government to implement Chinese law
Mhm.
on
the Hong Kong citizens.
yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
so
So the Hong Kong citizens actually operate under British law.
really,
Mhm.
Well, they used to be a British colony.
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
So that's why it's one government, one country, two systems.
Mhm.
Okay.
So when Maggie Thatcher turned over, signed the declarative documents ceding over control of Hong Kong to China,
Mhm.
it was with the notion that, okay, well, maybe this will allow China to democratize too, because Hong Kong would lead the way. China wanted Hong Kong because Hong Kong was a thriving economy.
Yeah, and to make profit.
And they
yeah.
needed that financial, stimulation too,
Mhm.
to grow the Chinese government. So so Theresa May says, okay, not Maggie Thatcher rather said,
Mhm.
okay, we'll do that, and that may encourage democratization. Kind of
As
didn't
we can
work
see,
out.
that did not work out.
No.
And currently going down there, all the.
Communist notions die very hard.
Mhm.
And so the communist government they signed a 50-year agreement that they really won't fully bring Hong Kong into the Chinese fold for another 50 years.
Mhm.
And we're about halfway through that process, another 27 years or so to go.
Mhm.
And so
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Goodness, I can only
Yeah.
expect.
So so the people there are very worried that
Mm-hmm.
that the Chinese government is running roughshod over them, and people would disappear and
Yeah.
bad things can happen. So that's what their worry is, and that's why they're not afraid to protest in public on the streets right now, because whatever bad happens to them now is
Nothing compared to what will
Correct.
happen when China
Correct.
oversees. Mhm.
correct.
So we will catch you later, right after this short break.
That's right. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
And welcome back to WSTU 1450, the Treasure Coast Forum.
Nice job, Marcus.
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you. First time.
All right.
Very nervous.
And that's don't be nervous. You're amongst friends.
Yes, I
And
am.
we've got Bob on the line. Hey, how you doing?
Hey,
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm a little nervous. I'm not
Are
usually
you?
on the radio.
Makes two of us.
All right. Well, have yourself an adult beverage and you'll be fine.
I got one of those right here.
All right. Okay. All right. Very good. So,
Hey, what makes me nervous? Shark Week.
Shark
I'm about
Week.
ready.
Oh, God. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot
Yeah.
about
It
that.
started last week.
Don't watch it. I
No.
don't know why I watch it. I'm about ready to take a huge loss and sell my new jet ski. I don't know if I want to
I'm
go back.
telling you. I tell
I
you
will
what.
buy it. How much?
And that, lost probably about 11,000.
Ooh. Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk about that.
So,
All right.
do you have
And
anything?
now you can't even go in the rivers because the
No.
bull shark can go. They found bull sharks 300 miles up freshwater rivers.
That's funny because we actually went water tubing the other day
Yeah.
in the river. So
Wow.
thank God you told us about that after the fact.
Yeah. If I knew about that before the fact, I don't think I would have gotten the water.
Well, the
Wow.
Indian River is really special for them. They had that guy from that show.
It's a nursery, isn't it?
Yeah, River Monsters. It was on. They were
What?
coming in. He was at the Fort Pierce Inlet. I usually didn't watch the show because he spends the whole show trying to catch some
Yeah.
giant catfish in Africa. Is trying to eat the kids there, and at the end he usually doesn't find one.
Yeah.
But he spent 2 nights on the Fort Pierce Inlet,
Oh.
right there by the old Mangrove Matties, if you know where that is. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
the second night, sure enough, he caught a female bull shark.
Wow.
Probably coming in they like to lay their
Yeah.
babies, have their pups in the river. Then they'll go back out to the ocean, and like 5 years later, when the little ones get big enough,
Come
then
back.
they'll go through the Fort Pierce Inlet into the ocean.
Nope.
So, yeah.
And do we have a status on how our water is actually doing as far
Yeah.
as
When was the last
dumping of
dumping
Yeah.
of the Lake Okeechobee?
Well, so last I heard, the Army Corps of Engineers.
Mhm.
I knew I'd spit it out eventually. The Army Corps of Engineers kept the lake level at a lower level that they ordinarily would keep it at.
Mhm.
So the discharges are being pulsed out, if any. So, but they can, and they're going to release more water south as opposed to
Oh,
out this
On
way.
our sides, yeah.
Right. So they're doing a couple different things. The fill level of the lake is changing,
Mhm.
and they're allowing more water. And when they do release water, they're going to try to release more to go to the south. And that's a direct result of some of the good work that Congressman Brian Mast has been doing. And
Mhm.
it's good stuff.
Yeah, and I've
Yeah.
noticed, you go to the beach,
The
the
water quality's-
water's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful right now. I mean,
Sandspread Park last year, this time, if you looked
Ooh.
at the water,
Oh,
it was,
yeah.
you couldn't even
Yeah.
see. I mean,
Oh,
it was
man.
a couple feet along the perimeter, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
couldn't even see the bottom. Now
Yeah.
you could clearly see the
Yep,
bottom.
Yep.
So
And,
big
That's
difference.
That's when they bite you.
Yeah,
Oh
that's right.
no! Oh no!
No, you see, like most of the people, like the divers, though, as long as you're sitting like on the bottom, they just push them away a lot.
Yeah.
But when you're surfing and your legs are hanging off the side of you're in water
Oh, yeah.
where you can't see.
Yeah.
And
They think
They
you're a
come through.
seal, right?
Yeah.
huh?
They think you're a seal.
We
You
don't
know.
have seals over here.
They don't. Bull sharks don't care what you are.
Yeah.
And apparently, a lot of the sharks, like the tigers that we have, also
Mhm.
when they pup, right before they give birth, they
Yeah.
starve themselves. So after they give birth, they'll eat anything.
Yeah, they're-
Tigers, bulls,
They're
bulls will eat
ravenous. Huh?
anything.
Yeah.
Great whites are usually think you're a seal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they had a show where they apparently crocodile therum, the bull sharks don't like it, so they took it out of a crocodile where bull sharks go into the rivers,
Hmm.
and they don't go near crocodiles, and they took it and they put it in the ocean by a bunch of bull sharks in the Bahamas, and they ran away from it. So I'm looking for a crocodile bathing suit.
Ooh, smart.
No, that's
Yeah.
another thing though. Isn't the crocodile population increasing in the river as well? Aren't
Yeah.
they seeing a lot
Well,
more?
the only saltwater crocodiles we have in the whole United States are in Lake Surprise by the beginning of the Keys.
Okay.
Surprise.
Because they have to drink fresh water, so they'll go into the ocean to hunt for food, but they'll cross back into the Everglades to drink fresh water at night.
Yeah, because I think actually where I live, we had gotten a notice of what we thought was an alligator in our lake, but it turned out because I'm connected to the river right there on the south side Hope Sound, and it ended up being a crocodile. So I don't know if one just moseyed its way up here, and,
Yeah.
but they let it go, I guess, and we'll see. We'll see.
God, we don't want them coming down.
Yeah, I
here.
know.
Oh, no.
That would be something.
Wow.
I feel like a cow and a chicken when I'm watching them. They're biting people's legs and arms off and stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if cows and chickens watch TV, they'd be watching People Week right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's just they scare the hell out of me. I wish I never watched Jaws. I shouldn't watch this.
Right. Right.
I used to stay in the water all day and never give it a second thought.
Right.
Anyways, that's enough of Shark Week.
Oh, that's great. That's fascinating. That well, I know there seems to be just a cultural. I mean, the whole fascination that our culture has with sharks is just fascinating to me.
Yeah, Sharknado. Ever seen it?
Sharknado, yeah. Actually,
Great cinema.
interesting historical. You guys like to study local history.
Mm-hmm.
Port Salerno is actually during World War II did secret war work having to do with sharks, because sometimes our sailors or airmen would end up in the Pacific, they'd end up in the water,
Mm-hmm.
and they sometimes had be bobbing around for a while waiting to get picked up, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to give them a better opportunity not to have an encounter with a bigger animal in the water, they developed these shark repellents that these soldiers and airmen had carried with them, and that was developed right here in Port Salerno.
Yeah, I think I've heard about that.
Yeah,
actually.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's part of our local
They do
cultural
make
heritage.
Shark
Mhm.
repellent. Yeah.
Well, they don't. The funny thing is, they don't like the scent of dead sharks.
They don't.
Yep.
And that's what
Not-
they do. They actually sent fishermen out there to collect these sharks, and then they would process them. And I guess Port Salerno had a unique aroma
Ooh.
while they were
Mhm.
going through that process.
That's strange. They like all kinds of other dead chum.
Right.
You know, any other kind of fish.
But it's
if they-
repellent.
If they sense that something killed one of their own,
Yeah.
they go away from the area.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
And they also don't like heavy magnets.
Yep.
Because they had that electrical sensor.
Disrupt-
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
it disrupts
Yeah.
them. Their sensory. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I'm going to invent this, dude. I'm telling you, crocodiles, magnets,
The scent. You
I
got
think-
it all.
I think they have something similar.
dead shark smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was actually watching Shark Week, and they had a suit where it would interrupt the electromagnetic waves coming off your body and the pulses, and the sharks wouldn't be able to sense them. So
Oh wow.
yeah, you could, which it could also be dangerous because if shark thinks you're a seal and it can't sense your heartbeat and stuff like that, you never know.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's neat.
It's neat.
Hope I never have to use it.
Right. But yeah, so anyways, yeah, if you ever want to research that, look that up. I know there's lots of local stories have been written about that, and it's pretty neat. So anything else you want to touch on? We got about 3 minutes left before we got to go to our last break.
Well, the Baltimore, it's like you said, if these Democrats who are acting like Mother Russia, thinking that every time we try to say something bad about one of their policies, they're just going to shout out that we're racist, we're homophobe, we're bigots, we're whatever we are. I mean, they get too bad for them because we need to humiliate these people. I'm sorry, like Cortez. I mean, from Queens. She's a beautiful girl. She's got a great attitude, but she's indoctrinated,
Right.
and she's ignorant.
Oh, she's
And we
misinformed.
can't
Yeah.
just sit back and let them spew off all this socialist crap,
Yeah.
and allow our borders to be open because they need more votes now.
Hey, Bob,
Yeah.
I got another caller calling in. Let me grab this last caller before we go to break.
You go take them
All right.
and stay away from Shark Week, guys.
Oh, dude, thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Sure thing.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Okay, you're talking to WSTU, the Church Coast Forum. Who is this, please?
John from Stewart.
Hey, John. It says Tom on the identifier.
Oh yeah, well I have to go by an alias. My life has been threatened.
Oh no.
Oh, I can't
Oh,
believe
yeah.
that. Oh, that's too
Yeah, I
bad.
came home from work and well, I ain't gonna tell you what it was a lot of cussing. He says, "I know where you work and all." And
Oh,
somebody
no.
where he was
Nope.
gonna kill me.
We don't
I
need
don't
that.
think he agreed with my letters to the editor. I was
Oh.
toward
Oh, I'm sorry to
being
hear
a
that.
liberal.
Oh, all right. All right, buddy. Well, listen, we got just a couple of minutes before we go to break,
Okay,
but
you see where Trump's going to be selling plastic straws
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
10 straws
Hmm.
for $15, $1.50 a straw.
Nice.
Oh yes, I
with
did
the
see that
pres-
actually. Plastic
yeah,
straws. I thought you meant paper, but yes, I did see
Mhm.
that.
You know, everybody else is trying to ban them, and
It's funny,
and
yeah.
he's
he's a great
capitalizing.
environmentalist, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm sure the world will come to an end much quicker now that he's selling straws.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about last week? 106 in Paris, France.
Wow.
106 what?
Temperature.
Oh.
The temperature was 106.
Well, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
they need to invest in ice cubes.
No.
You don't think it's because of climate change?
Oh, absolutely. Climate change. The climate is changing every day. That's
Yeah,
it
but
has been
we're
changing for
causing it.
4.5 billion years.
I know you get all your information from Fox, but
No, actually, I get my
listen to
information
scientists.
from science. So 4.5 billion years the planet has been around, and the planet changes every day. And
And it hasn't got anything to do with us messing up.
we
the
are
ozone
a
layer. And
bit player in the big cosmic scheme of things. But and
all
I'm
those
sorry,
those climatologists are
Well,
wrong, right?
well, they're misinformed. We got to go, but hey, we thank you for calling, and we thank you for listening, John. And we'll look forward to having you
Okay.
back again here on Treasure Coast Forum. But we got to
Okay.
go. All right.
Okay, right.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Okay, welcome back to WSTU 1450, the Treasure Coast Forum.
Nice job, yay!
All right.
Killing it.
All right.
So we were
Very
talking
good.
after the break, and we just remembered something that happened a couple of days ago.
Yes.
So Marcus, go ahead and tell us.
I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw that we actually almost ended the human race, entire Earth. Almost
Right.
ended.
We almost became the dinosaurs.
We almost got
basically.
hit by a massive asteroid
Right.
yesterday.
Right. Talk about climate change. That's climate change on a galactic
Mass
level.
extinction
Yes. Mhm.
level. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So what is NASA doing exactly? Why
Just,
have we not been informed?
Well, these are rocks. These are, rocks that it's like trying to find, fly
Needle in a
specks
haystack.
Yeah.
in pepper, you know?
I'll cut them some slack.
Right. So it's very, very difficult
Yeah.
to see there, because there's what they call this Oort belt, right? And so occasionally all these rocks get bumped out of their normal orbit, and actually through Jupiter, and Jupiter knocks a lot of these rocks in the Oort belt from their normal rotational pattern, and then they come zipping by us.
Yeah, that asteroid actually it does orbit the sun, and scientists only found it hours before it would have hit us, and
That would have been bad. Do you think
it's crazy to think about
if
how,
it was on track to hit us,
Mhm.
do you think that they would have informed the
No,
public?
not a chance.
Or no,
not a
so that
chance. No
chaos wasn't.
Panic would have been horrible, and if it didn't, imagine if it didn't hit us. Imagine the backlash
and
that
then
they would have
oh
gotten.
yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they had
there's
told us
nothing you can do. But I do know that they've investigated some notions about putting atomic missiles in space.
Oh, yep, to hit the asteroid so
Right.
that they
So you have
break
s-
so it's not as
What's
fatal.
that
yeah.
movie where they go up
Yeah,
and they,
yeah. There was a movie about that.
Oh, yeah.
that's a good.
And they
movie,
used
yeah.
a bunch of miners, I think, to
Yeah,
drill,
they drill
the-
into it and break it apart. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And but yeah, so that's kind of they've got that idea. There's another idea is actually put a lander on a big rock in space,
Mhm.
and then with a rocket engine attached to it, and just kind of redirect it. Even if they
Yep.
can move it a degree or two, that's
Yep.
all they have to do.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
know.
Yep.
So there's and they're talking about space-based lasers to break it up the same way. So there's a lot of wild and wacky things.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
here we go. All right, you're on Treasure Coast Forum. We got a couple minutes left. Yes, sir.
Hey, Frank, this is Dennis,
Hey,
Al's friend from.
Yeah. Hey, Dennis, how you doing? Thanks for calling.
You're welcome. I was just going to tell you the movie you were thinking of. There's two of them. One is Deep Impact, and the other is Armageddon.
Armageddon. Yeah,
All right,
that's
there
the
it
one
is.
we
Thank
were
you.
thinking about.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Armageddon. Yeah, thanks for that.
Armageddon is where they go onto the asteroid and try and drill holes into it and put nuclear bombs down far enough
Yep.
that it can split it apart. Whereas Deep Impact, they try and do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think about how that would have been just in a thought.
And we almost
back
lived
then.
it, right?
And now we're almost at that point where we're
Right.
sending drones onto those asteroids and changing
Mhm.
direction, breaking them apart.
I really think putting some sort of a rocket motor on it soon enough that it's got a lot of time to nudge it away is probably one of the more realistic type ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm all about the rocket motor because what I'm afraid of is if you still got a rock that's coming your way and now you're going to just be pelted by a bunch of
Yeah.
smaller
Yeah,
rocks, it's still
That's
going to
still
do
going to inflict
it's gonna-
damage.
right.
That was definitely the premise of both of those movies. You
Ex-
broke up one
right.
rock, one big rock into one little one, so now you're covering a bigger area. So,
Yeah.
Right.
And I think
but,
though, I don't know what the size is specifically, but when most of those asteroids or rocks come into our stratosphere, they get burned up down to almost nothing. But even
Mhm.
those small sizes, penny sizes, they still do a lot of damage onto the surface of the Earth.
oh, yeah, absolutely. That one over Russia, I think, I don't remember if it was
Right.
2015, 2017, I think they said after it burned down to the point of getting into our atmosphere, it was like the size of a refrigerator, which
Yeah.
nothing caused that much damage.
Right. Right. Imagine that. Yeah. Right. So
Mhm.
it's, right.
All
But
right, guys, let you go. Just wanted to put my 2 cents in.
We
thanks,
appreciate it.
Dennis. Thanks for listening too, buddy.
All right,
Appreciate
Frank,
it.
you bet. Take care.
All right.
Bye,
Thanks.
take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right.
All right.
Very
one,
cool.
one last topic that we wanted to talk about with our final minutes
Mhm.
is the Green New Deal and what
Yes.
the actual feasibility of that deal
Okay.
occurring.
Okay.
So Democratic, I don't even know what to say. Democrats not candidates. No. Who was the lady that actually suggested?
Alexandria
Ocasio-Cortez.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Yeah.
So
She's part of the squad.
Mhm.
Right.
So this goal of the Green New Deal is a goal by 2020 to limit all
Eliminate.
I'm pretty sure, right? Emissions and just lower the amount of toxic chemicals in
Right.
our atmosphere. And
We have to all learn how to do yoga too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
And that's the thing. It looks great. You know, everybody wants to do it. Everybody. There's no person to argue against it. It's
Mhm.
just
the
how
actual
you-
feasibility to
the
remove
costs and
cars for citizens by the year 2020, and not even to mention that this is like a very ethnocentric thing to think about, that we aren't the only polluter of our planets. A lot of it is guilty upon China or India,
Right.
and
But-
third world and
Right.
second world countries that have all of these factories
Mhm.
and such, and they're the ones that aren't going to listen to the protocols that maybe the UN will put upon them, because they are attempting to become more developed and become a first world nation. And to do that, they have to produce products through these factories, which use the like coal and non-renewable resources
Mhm.
that mess up our climate.
Right. So, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else. Yeah, you can't really say much about it other than it
Yeah.
really looks great. You want to do it. You want it to happen, but it's
The feasibility of
reality,
changing-
In all reality, it's just and you see San Francisco, California in general. Those cities are trash beyond trash. With big cities, the
Los
homeless sitting
Angeles.
there.
I mean, they're worried about bubonic plague now
Yeah.
in Los Angeles.
And you see, the leaders of those states and counties, and I mean, are they doing anything about it? Like it's
Seems-
you see,
no.
they're
They're
like, it's
welcoming more
trash.
people in.
And
Yeah.
they keep saying, they say, come here, we'll do this for you and this for you, and it just never fades away, and
Mhm.
people get stuck there,
Yeah.
and it's a shame, and it's really, it sucks.
It's the world we live in.
It's an interesting time.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting time to be alive. for
It
sure.
really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty amazing because when I was in elementary school, we used to do fire drills, right? We
Mhm.
also did what we called tornado drills,
Mhm.
Used to know.
and right,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
and we also did air raid drills.
Yep.
Oh wow.
my dad would tell me about that. They would
Yeah.
go under the desk and they'd have you sit there. And,
Yep. You go under your desk and put your hands over your head, and that would protect you from radiation from the atomic
Yeah.
bombs.
Mhm. Well, now we have
Nah.
active shooter drills.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's our current problem.
Right. So, so it's a different year,
Yeah.
different demon.
Yep.
You know.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of interesting. But anyways,
Yep.
it's a crazy world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, we managed to go through an entire hour.
Yep.
And
fast.
and it's just amazing. But we covered just kind of shirt sleeve covered
Yeah.
so many topics we'd love to get into depth with, but maybe next week.
Maybe next week. We have
Yes.
time next week.
Yes. Or the week after.
Yeah. Or the week after.
And the week after that. if we don't get hit by a big rock.
Oh yeah.
All
Or
right.
hurricane season. Watch out.
Yes, that's right. All right. So this weekend's going to be a little wet,
Mm-hmm.
right? So wear your bathing suit outside. Might as well, right? Okay. Well, we thank you for listening. We enjoy having you join us each and every week here on Treasure Coast Forum. We'll look forward to chatting with you next week. Thanks again.
Thank you.